Good morning, brethren.
Good morning, sir.
I have several books on my tablet. A little over actually 500 books on this tablet that I'm holding. This. And I chose this topic because it came to my consciousness after reading something online that, you know, this is really true. I've seen this several times and I never really thought of wonder. Why? So what have I seen? So I went through a couple of my books that I've seen before, and I just randomly chose books, and almost in every one I chose, the first 10 I chose, I opened, I saw exactly what I want to show you today. This is one book. This is by Dr. Frank Lutz. It says Words That Work. It says not what you say, it's what people hear. And if I turn to page 2 of this book, what do I see on page 2 of this book? It's a blank page, actually. There's nothing on it. The book is roughly about 360 pages. Printed material, and that costs money to print, okay? Despite the fact, I'm seeing this as an e-copy, but there was actually a physical hard copy, paper copy, before this e-copy. I just like e-copies. I mean, I can't carry 500 books to this place with you right now. If I'm even going to carry 10 books here, you know how big it is, but I can carry it here on my phone, on my tablet. And so this e-copy is a exact mimic of the the hard copy. And paper that costs money, because number of pages is what they used to actually bill when they are printing. And they're not printing only one copies, so they'll be printing probably maybe 100,000 copies. This book is New York Times bestseller, so probably millions have been printed. So imagine one page in million copies. So that's quite a lot of savings if they remove that single blank page. I don't know how many of you, I think all the legal people here who have looked at legal documents will be familiar with blank pages in books. I want to just show you a couple of examples so that you know it's not random. Here's another book, Research Methodology. Okay? And this book is roughly about another, how many pages? This one is about 390 something pages as well. And yet, so look at it, another blank page. And this is actually in page 4. It's not always page 2, it's not always page 3, but before you move 10 pages in some books, before you move the next 4 pages, you see a blank page. How many of you have seen blank pages in books like that? Just blank pages, nothing. Some will actually write something there. Okay? My third and final example, I will show you 20, 30, 40 books. This one is Managing Change in Organizations. Managing Change in Organizations. And again, there is a blank page. This one is in page 4 of this book. No, page 7 of this book. And it's a 500 and something, whatever page book. Looks a little bit small. Yeah, 392 page book. And there is a blank page there. So what does that tell me? There's a reason why, for some unknown, purpose, blank pages are inserted in a printed material. So I decided to find out why. And so I went on Wikipedia and I typed blank pages. And of course, on that Wikipedia, okay, the reason I actually went ahead to look is that in some of those pages, they will write this page intentionally left blank. Now if it's a blank page that has nothing in it, I will quickly check whether something is missing. Maybe in printing they made a mistake. But when I look, I notice they have not even started the actual contents of the book. Or they've written certain things like the other one that was in page 7, and then they put a blank page. And so I looked at this, and you can see what it says here. Intentionally left blank. Intentionally left blank. And I read what it is in Wikipedia. It says an intentionally blank page, or what they call a vacant page, from Latin, vacare, which is being empty. It's a page that is devoid of content, has no content, and it may be unexpected. Such pages may serve purposes ranging from place holding to space filling and content separation. Sometimes these pages may carry a notice, such as, this page is intentionally left blank. Such notices typically appear in printed works, legal documents, manuals, and things like that. So you see something like that. And that's exactly what I want to talk about, what I want to use to talk today. Okay? So what is my sermon title? What's my sermon title? Well, I've given my sermon the title. What's my title? Okay, exactly. Now, my sermon title is "This page is intentionally left blank." Alright? So, this page is intentionally left blank. Well, actually, I would rather you use in your notes, "This day intentionally left blank." I suppose by now, all of you being super smart, you already know what I'm talking about. And I will just say Shabbat Shalom and go sit down. Because you obviously will know what I'm talking about. This day intentionally left blank. This page intentionally left blank. Now, the question is this: why leave a page blank? Or why am I saying this day intentionally left blank? Which day do you think I'm talking about? Actually, I'm talking of today. Because it's the beginning of the year. This was what I would have spoken about last Saturday if I were here. Is this the first Saturday of the month? Second one? The first. Okay, good. So I figured maybe I should start today and write this. And I'm sure those of you who've known me for years recognize I'm not saying something that I'm saying simply because I'm in a situation where I have to talk about it or preach. It's something that has been a part of me that I actually believe for quite a while. Frankly, from when I was an undergraduate, 100 level even before. Okay? Let's turn to our first scripture. Genesis chapter 2, from verse 1 to 3. I'm putting it on the screen so that we can be a bit more visual and to at least take our attention. Okay? So, Genesis chapter 2, verse 1 to 3. Thus the heavens and the earth and all the host of them were finished. And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had done. And he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his works which God had created. It's interesting that it says God ended his work which he had done on the seventh day, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. Was he tired? Was it a stressful week? And therefore he just needed that rest. Does he need to rest? How many of us believe God gets tired and therefore he needed to rest? How many of us believe so? I don't believe he was tired. Okay? I do not believe God was tired. God wasn't tired. You know, God was trying to set a spiritual precedent in the world. Now this was before Israel was made. This was before the Jews were created or became a people. This was before the father of the Israelites, Jacob or Isaac or Abraham, the ancestors, were even made. In the beginning, he began and started creation, and then when the scripture says he finished all he was doing, and on the seventh day God decided that he wanted to rest. A pause. It's like saying, this day intentionally left blank. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't because it was required, it was needed. It wasn't because he had to, he had no choice. It wasn't because there was nothing even probably to do. The scripture says, Jesus said so. God has always been working and he is still working. Did he not say so? So it was intentionally left blank. Intentional. In the middle of a sentence, as we speak, we often have pauses, isn't it? Imagine if I'm talking like this. This and I'm talking, there's no pause. There is no full stop, and there's no comma. So I just pause for effect. Sometimes we talk, and then we stop. It has a purpose. Intentionally, because I'm trying to let what I've said sink in. That's why I'm stopping. There are times when you are talking and then of course you have to pause because you need to take a breath. isn't it? But when I'm talking, and you guys must have done it many times, or if you've ever had to address some people or talk publicly or whatever, it gets to a point, even when talking to your children, to your family, or to your friend, you will talk, come here, what did I tell you yesterday? You see, intentional pause. Sometimes we worry a lot. We run around. And we don't recognize the need for us to actually intentionally take this 7th day and leave it blank. A God who has no need to rest, God who does not require any form of relaxation, God who does not require sustenance, who doesn't get tired or weary, could intentionally take a day and said, I'm pausing, I'm resting, I'm putting nothing on this day. How much more us? Sometimes we think that we need to come to church and spend 2 hours or 3 hours, and then after that, we're visiting someone here, we're going this place, we're doing this, we're doing this, and so oftentimes we don't give as much time as we probably could to fellowship. We need to recognize the importance of the Sabbath. Sometimes I think we don't really know it. We don't really understand how it is. Let's look at our second scripture. Exodus 14. This is easy to memorize. Frankly, the key verse that I love is verse 14, but I'm reading verse 13 and 14. Okay? And Moses said to the people, do not be afraid. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which will accompany for you today. The Israelites just escaped Egypt. They were happy to be going to the promised land. And then there was the sea before them, and Pharaoh's army was coming behind them. And they were agitated, they were running helter-skelter, they were afraid. They didn't know what to do. Their heart was up, and they were so scared. What am I going to do? We're going to die. That was when Moses told them this. Sometimes as we struggle, we think, I need to pay my school fees. I need to pay house rent. I need to achieve this. By next year, I want to make sure I get this. I'm supposed to do this. We have so many things we are thinking. They're like Pharaoh's army, more or less, pressing upon us. Those are some of the things that make us choose to think, we can't afford to take this page or this day and leave it blank. I can't waste that 24 hours. I can't give that day off. My boss threatens my existence. He's going to sack me or fire me. I'm going to lose money if I don't open my shop, at least in the afternoon or in the morning or so and so. I can't succeed or I can't survive if I do this. If I make this choice, it's going to take a lot from me. And we're going to come to the ox in the ditch principle anyway when we come there. But we all think we have all this army, all these things surrounding us, and we are running helter-skelter. This is a time when sometimes we need to remember and remind ourselves of what Moses told the Israelites. When they had life-threatening scenarios around them, really life-threatening, they were immediate. They couldn't fly over the sea. They couldn't swim across the sea. It never occurred to them that God could open dry ground and they could walk through. And the enemies behind them, they couldn't defeat them. And Moses told them, be still. Perhaps a lesson we can learn from the Sabbath is that there are times when we need to simply just pause and simply look to God and simply trust in God and simply immerse ourselves in Him, in all He has done, in all He's doing, in all He can do for us. To intentionally leave that day blank. To intentionally leave it blank. So what is the definition of the meaning of a pause? To just stop and just decide not to worry about work, about anything we're doing. It could be a time of silence. It could be a time to simply reflect on the week and the things that we need to put as importance, our priorities in life. A time to rest from all the work that we did the rest of the 6 days. In fact, it's a time to simply, intentionally, that is consciously, leave that day of our life blank. Just for God. Leave it blank. Just for God. Now, The interesting thing is that in Leviticus 23, verse 3, God made this statement. And he made it. And so he obviously knew what he was saying. And he said from verse 3, there are 6 days when you may walk. 6 days when you may walk. And the 7th day is a day of Sabbath rest. A day of sacred assembly. You notice I underlined that sacred assembly. Sometimes we think the Sabbath is simply a day that we recognize in our head. You know, I know today is the Sabbath day, it's the 7th day. I know it in my head. I don't have to do anything on that day. Okay? There are those who will say it was given to the Jews. So that command to keep the Sabbath day holy specifically is to the Jews. We are not Jews. But you know, the scripture says we are Israel of God. Spiritual Jews. In Romans 11, Paul was talking about a tree that was planted. The tree of life. The covenant he made through Abraham. He said wild olive plants or trees. Gentiles were taken from outside, they were grafted into the same tree. To take from the same source, same laws of God. He didn't set up a separate law for the Gentiles and a separate law for the Jews. But of course we all know this. I'm just saying it. We all know this already. We all know this. Look at it, the command. It says a day of sacred assembly. A day of sacred assembly. What it means is that the Sabbath is not just for us to recognize in our head that, you know what, today is a Sabbath day, okay, so we give it holy to God. No. Recognizing that it is holy to God means we should do also one other thing. It says it's a sacred assembly. It's a time for us to gather together. It's not because we choose to. It's because God said we should do so. And by gathering together, he said it's a sacred assembly. Now, there are some people who live in the desert, or who live in Yukusa, or who live in Maduguri. There's no one they could gather together with. Then they will stay in their house. Or if it's a family, they will congregate together as a family. But for those who are able to, where the opportunity to actually come together is there, God says it's a sacred assembly, a day for us to come together. I can't see in my Bible whether God said this is up to us. Did he say it is up to me? Did God say that it's a day you may? You know, it says 6 days you may walk. Even though the English word there says may in NIV, it says 6 days you shall walk, okay? But when it says it's the time for the 7th day, it says it's a day of sacred assembly. You are not, it was emphatic, to do any work, whether you live, it's a Sabbath, wherever you live. It's a Sabbath to God, it's not to me. Let me ask this question. Has any of us, at a point in time, felt, you know, and it is true, Jesus Christ said, the Sabbath is made for us. We are not made for it, it's made for us, for our enjoyment, isn't it? So that we can delight ourselves in God. That's what Jesus Christ said. Do we think that it is up to us? You know, this Saturday or this Sabbath, I think I like to stay home. I mean, it's been a very busy week. I want to rest. I want to rest at home. You know, I feel I've had a very busy week. I think I like to rest at home today. Let's rest at home. Okay. You know, if I had arrived in Saturday night, Friday night, jet lag or no jet lag, you know, I would have been here Saturday morning for Sabbath. Could I say, you know, it's a very tough journey, stressful week. I think I need to rest at home today. In Preston, Manchester, when I was there for service, I just went there to just be there for Sabbath. And when the minister there saw me, he said, didn't know I was around, blah, blah, blah. He's been moving around 5 congregations the past 5 weeks, from one to the other, across UK and Ireland. And so he said today, he came back to UK, to Manchester, the previous night, Friday night. And he was so tired, he had not prepared any message, and so what he scheduled to use was to listen to a tape downloaded from Beyond Today outcasts. He said, but we're so small here. And I don't really like, Adema, but that's what we have scheduled for today. Are you a Boy Scout? I knew where he was going. I said, yeah, I was a Boy Scout for about 17 years. Good, that means you are prepared, right? I knew I was going to say, well, I suppose so. Say, okay, so will you be able to give us a sermon today? I said, sure. They said, okay, they will delay service 30 minutes. They don't delay 30 minutes. We'll start when we want to start. I just need 5 minutes to choose whatever I'll talk. That guy could have said, I want to stay home today. He didn't stay home. He has no choice. Not because he doesn't have a choice personally. He recognized God has said that part of honoring the Sabbath, of honoring Him, we will see that later on, is being able to, when we are able to, doesn't mean when I'm dying, I can't barely walk or whatever. He says it's a sacred assembly. It is not, let me just rest today, I'll go next week. For those who work, those who go to work, how many people realistically can wake up one morning, I slept around 2 a.m. I have to go to work again, 7 a.m. today. I beg, let me rest home today, I'm not going to work today. How many people can do so? Show of hands. How many people can wake up one day and feel, I'm so tired, I don't think I'll go to work today. There was a day I was talking to Sherry, and I called him around 7:30. You all know Sherry Mambo. And as I was talking to him, I had sound, are you already heading home or on the way home? Oh, he said, I'm home. I came home about 30 minutes ago. I'm not feeling too well. He normally comes home about 11:30. And by 3 a.m., when he comes home 11:30, he will eat. He will spend about 30 minutes entering the details of his haulage service for that day. And then he'll go and take a shower, and then he'll go and sleep. So maybe 12:30 thereabout he sleeps. 3 a.m. on the dot, he has an alarm. 3 a.m. on the dot, Sheriff is out of the house. He doesn't take a bath again. He's taking his bath like 3 hours ago. He dresses, 3:15, he's out. Every single day. It's only Friday you see him home like 6:30. So that day when I called him was a weekday and he was home, he said around 6:30 he came home. He's not feeling so well. That he just decided to come home and make the rest of it. Do you know the next day, he still went to work. I said, shouldn't you stay home and at least rest today? He said, my brother, I can't go. You know how much business I will be losing. There are bills to pay, that's so and so. He got up and he still went to work. He's self-employed. He knows that if he does not work, somebody will not, at the end of the month, whether you work or not, they'll give you salary. It doesn't happen like that. Sometimes those who are self-employed, they work more and push themselves more than those who are. And for some who work for those who still pay their salary, the day you are not at work, they will deduct your salary. Or you have to have a cogent reason, bring doctor's letter that you are sick or something like that. We cannot decide and just say, you know what, I'm so tired today, I can't go to work. But sometimes we do that when it comes to God, isn't it? In Hebrews chapter 10, Paul made a statement because apparently there are people who are having the same issues in the early New Testament church. There are people who will simply stay away for weeks or for months, and when it's convenient, they'll turn up. And probably part of what Paul was addressing here. And he says, let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess. For he who promised is faithful. And let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds, not giving up the meeting together as some are in the habit of doing. He's talking here about coming together for service, for fellowship, for worship. He says we need to recognize that we did not do so. He says, but we should do so all the more so even as we see the day approaching. And we know, of course, the day he's talking about. And so what Paul is saying here is there's a reason why God wants us to come together. Why we come together. Beyond the fact that the Bible says it's a sacred assembly. Our coming together as God asked is because he asked it. It's part of our obedience to the command to keep the Sabbath day intentionally open and free for Him. Free from all the things we do normally. Leave that schedule free for Himself. That's what God said. And part of doing that means we come for a sacred gathering. Our gathering can gather on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, on any day, of course. Where 2 or 3 are gathered, in my name, Jesus Christ said. He said He's there, His Father is there, they are with us. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. But God specifically said, when we do it on the 7th day, He said He is holy. And you remember the command in Leviticus, in Exodus 20 verse 8. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy, because it was made holy in the beginning by God. It's like when the government says every 3rd Saturday of the month, the first 3 hours till 10 o'clock is Environmental Sanitation Day. If anybody wants to talk to us about it, say remember the 3rd Sabbath of the month before 10 o'clock to keep it as Environmental Sanitation Day, is it not? If it is not, we cannot be asked to keep it that way. A law has already made it special. If you say, you know what, I've cleaned my house already. I don't need to do an environmental sanitation, that Saturday. So let me leave my house 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. I have somewhere to be by 8 o'clock on that environmental sanitation day. How many of us can do that? We will be running foul of the law of God. No, of the law of the nation, isn't it? And they will arrest somebody and they will take them to prison and they will fine them. For God to say keep it holy means it was already declared special, holy by God Himself. And because He's the one who declared it holy, all we can do is to let it be that way by doing it the way He wants us to do it. By keeping the things He wants us to keep doing it. By accomplishing that purpose for which He has created it. And one of that purpose is for us to gather together in a sacred assembly. And Paul is adding features again. Reasons why that gathering together is important. So what is the purpose of meeting together? Verse 24 of Hebrews 10 that we read explains what it is. Verse 24 of that Hebrews 10. To spur one another unto love and good deeds. To spur one another unto love and good deeds. So why do I come here? I'm hoping that I can encourage and spur someone to love and to good deeds. I'm hoping all of us, each of us as we come out, apart from us leaving our homes and choosing to come together, we're looking for how and are thinking and inventive. One translation says, and let us be inventive, let us be innovative, to think of ways by which we can push one another to do things that bring up love or that foster love and good behavior. And of course, second reason is to encourage one another. So do I come and I'm sitting down, just, I'm coming here to worship God or to listen to what God, and that's it. Nobody else concerns me. That's not so. We should be coming to look for ways by which we encourage one another and we spur one another to love and good deeds. The command in Leviticus, Exodus 20 verse 8 says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. The definition of holy is something that we all know. It is dedicated or consecrated to God. Dedicated. It's given to God. Dedicated to God. Consecrated to God. For religious purpose, something that is sacred. It is not up to us. It's not by choice. There are ox in the ditch principle, and Christ said if your ox falls into the ditch on the Sabbath, bring it out. We don't decide to push the ox to the ditch, right? And if our ox keep getting into the ditch every Sabbath, what should we do? My ox is falling to the ditch this Sabbath. Oh, I need to get it out. Okay, I'm getting it out, so I can't do this. Next Sabbath, the ox falls in the ditch again. You have two options, probably. One, kill the ox. Or two, go and tie the ox where there is no ditch. Do we know that every time we gather on this day before God, God says it's like an appointment to Him. From the age of 16, as I can remember, every time I come together for service, I used to ask God for something. there's something I'm always putting before him. Sometimes it could be to help me in ways that I cannot help myself. Sometimes it's for him to be able to solve some problems I've been unable to solve. There are plenty of those. It could be external to us. It could be internal to us. We are coming before someone who knows all things, who can do all things, who is all powerful. And he says, despite the fact that he's with us all the time, his spirit lives in us and is with us. He says when we come together on this special day of his own, that's a sacred day, we are honoring him. Why don't we think that there are problems and burdens he can take away from us? That he can take away from us. If I'm going to summarize what Paul wrote as to why we come together on the Sabbath day, you can read it this way. 1, because there is someone that we can encourage. There is someone we can spur on to good works. Also because we need to be uplifted ourselves. Most importantly because it's the day that we simply stop doing what we used to do in our busy lives. Our TV watching that we watch maybe 24/7 doesn't mean we cannot watch TV, but we don't spend all our days sitting there watching TV, of course. It's a day to simply be able to just say, God, I thank you. God, I honor you. I worship you. I give you all adoration. Everything I have that I am is all because of you. So today, I give this day to you. I intentionally, purposely, deliberately, I'm living this day blank. I am living it blank. Look at God's spiritual week schedule. Sometimes we think our schedule is so busy. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. So God on day 1, he created light. On day 2, made the atmosphere. Day 3, dry land, oceans, grasses, trees, seeds, all after their own kind. Day 4, the sun, the moon, the stars. Day 5, the animals, the birds, whales, fish, bugs, big stuff, small stuff, so many things like that. Planktons, phytoplanktons, all the things that absorb the sunlight from the atmosphere and used to make food. The tiniest fish and bigger ones will eat until they come to us. And then day 6, he created man. And then of course he created woman. Then he set up his kingdom more or less, physically here, so to say then. Say, have dominion, rule over everything. Subdue them, multiply, fill the earth. Begin to grow. That's a busy week, isn't it? 6 days. So on the 7th day, what did you do? God said, this day, intentionally left blank. It's not because he needed to rest. It's not because there wasn't anything he could do. It wasn't because it was mandatory that he did so. I think he was telling us something, trying to make a plan for man that he created. That's why he said the Sabbath was made for us. So I want to leave this day free for you. Do all you want to do all through the week. But on this 7th day, I want you to leave it blank. So you can focus on me. On our relationship. That's what he says he wants to do. This day intentionally left blank. We need to also do so. Intentionally. Always free our Saturdays. Always work to free. That truly, if really there has to be any ox in the ditch, it truly has to be an ox in the ditch. We readily will call everything an ox in the ditch. But God intentionally left the 7th day free so he could rest. Setting a precedent for us, an example for us. And he also told us we must do same and preserve, that's what keep is. Maintain that status of holiness and special nature that it is. Maintain that special nature of holiness. You know, they say that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Or like Fonton said it. We all know how he said it. Sagacity is a competency that can never be masqueraded with humility. Isaiah 58, verse 13 to verse 14. This is God talking here. He says, if you turn away your foot from the Sabbath, it's like if you prevent yourself from doing what you want on the Sabbath, if you turn away your foot from the Sabbath, from doing your pleasure on His holy day, you know, this is what I want, this is what I choose. Sometimes human beings are very stubborn. Pride is in us. Stubbornness is in us. Scripture says so. The heart of man is sinful above all things. We think, we know what's best for us. When the one who created us already told us He knows what is best for us, even before we ask, He said He knows. And He made this allowance and He commands us and asks us to keep it that way. And He says when we honor Him, we will not just recognize that day, but we'll also have a sacred assembly. Intentionally so. Intentionally so. I'm hoping all of us need to be at a point where we are frankly incapacitated that they will drag us. If we have to crawl, somebody will have to either hold us down, tie us to check. You know what? Crawling after Sabbath is not good for you. Stay home. How many times do you sick? I always like this. Okay, tie yourself down. Tie him down. Put him in a straight jacket. But sometimes already, I think I just want to stay today. I think the traffic is going to be too much. Or I think whatever is happening. With the measure you measure shall be measured. How much passion do we have for things of God? Or for things He values? Sometimes we will say, God, today I need you as I'm going out today, be with me. God, please provide for me. Please let me have good impression at work. Let me be able to discharge my duties well so that I can get promotion. Every day we keep asking God for this, to do this for me, protect me, guide me, give me this, solve this problem, do this, do this. Every day we have something we want God to do for Him. And then the only day God says, you know what, this is my day, I want to give you this day. Well, God, you know how much I really love you. You know it, I'm sure. You can see my heart. Shebi, I know you look at the heart. I love you. But there's this, my friend's wedding that I just have to go for. Or maybe there's this, if I don't go for this thing, my God will sack me, they will fire me. It took me 3 years to get this job. I will lose this contract if I don't do this. I just feel so tired. I just feel like I should be sleeping. Just let me sleep for today, okay? I don't think I have the time. I have this meeting I have to attend on Tuesday. And if I come to service today, I will spend the transport I have. We don't have transport for Monday. So, God, just let me rest a bit. And I know you understand, right? I did God. In Isaiah 58, God was saying, call the Sabbath a delight. You are so excited and so happy to be at service. And that's sacred assembly. That's what God says. It's not because anybody makes us do so. It's not because we have to do so, but we recognize that God has given us this day for us. And because we want to please God. So we intentionally make it a part of our week plan. Intentionally so. It's not only when it's convenient. It's not only because, nothing else is taking our time. No, we intentionally decided that this day we will leave it free of any schedule of ourselves. We will leave it to God. Every day we live our lives like writing a page of a book. And the scripture says, every 7th day we should intentionally leave it blank for God. It says, the holy day of the Lord, honorable, not finding your own pleasure, not speaking your own words. Say, you shall delight yourself in the Lord. I will cause you to ride on the hills of the earth. Feed you the heritage of Jacob your father. The mouth of the Lord has spoken. I said what really is of importance to us sometimes comes out a lot in the things we say. Okay? When the Israelites left Egypt and God needed to test their obedience, what did He use to test their obedience? The Sabbath. So, these people, I want to know whether they will keep my laws or not. This place I'm taking them to. I want to know whether they will appreciate and value all I am doing in their life. I'm doing for them. So here's what's going to happen. For 6 days, I will send manna from heaven. On the 6th day, tell them to gather double. Every day, they should just take enough. If they take extra on any other day, until we rot, grow maggots before the next day. But on the 6th day, they can take double. It's not going to rot. To be okay. And then tell them that on that 7th day, they should not go out. They should stay home. Why is He using that as a test commandment for them? Several times you read in Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, God will be talking to the children of Israel, and for no reason, out of the blues, He will just insert it. And remember my Sabbaths, to keep it holy. My Sabbath you shall keep. To Daniel, to Jeremiah, to Ezekiel, when God will talk about the 3 reasons He allowed Israel and Judah to go into captivity. They were worshipping other gods. They were intermarrying with foreigners who took them away from God. Obviously, it took them to marry other gods again, to worship other gods. And it says they were not keeping the Sabbath. 3 reasons. When God was going to talk to the children of Israel, that what differentiates you, what identifies you as mine? He said, the Sabbath shall be a sign between me and you, that you shall know that I am the Lord your God, who sanctified you, who set you apart, who said, Israel is my firstborn son. Abraham's blessings are mine. We all sing it, isn't it? Abraham's blessings are mine. We are blessed in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, everywhere we go. But that blessing, that covenant given to Abraham, is the same covenant that extends to us. Hebrews 8 talks about it being a better covenant because it's built on better promises. And what changed? He says so. Paul said what changed? He said the problem is not with the law, it's the people. And so God decided that instead of the law being given to them on paper, He's going to put it in their hearts. He already said that to Jeremiah, Jeremiah 31:31. Through the Spirit of God, He will give them the power, the enablement, the ability to love, to keep His laws. Even when He was giving them that law that time, He said, these people have a heart of flesh. I doubt if they will be able to obey, to keep my law. So several times God will talk about what matters to Him, what is important to Him. Incidentally, look at this statement in Isaiah 56. Isaiah 56. You can read from verse 1 if you like, but I'm just going to read 3, 4, 5, 6 or so. In verse 3 and 4, this is God. You need to think a little bit about the importance of this statement to let you know how important God holds that Sabbath day and the congregation of His children together. He said, even to them I will give in my house and within my walls a place and a name. Now He's talking about an eunuch, someone who against his desire, against his will, was castrated and can have no children. And in that time, people value having kids. It's like if you don't have a kid, you are useless. And God was saying having your own children is not as important as if you do my will. And you know, He used the Sabbath as an example, despite the fact that of course He's doing His will in totality. It says, even to them I will give in my house and within my walls a place and a name better than that of sons and daughters. I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. Talking about an eunuch, somebody who have no possibility or chance of ever having a child. And they think, my living is useless. I'm a useless person. I have no inheritance. Nothing, Say also, verse 6. Oh, I moved. Verse 4. Do not let the son of the foreigner, who has joined himself to the Lord, speak, saying, the Lord has utterly separated me from His people. Not let the eunuch say, here I am, a dry tree. An eunuch is somebody, like I said, who's castrated and has no chance of ever producing anything else. So for thus says the Lord, to the eunuchs who keep my Sabbaths and choose what pleases me and hold fast my covenant. Why is He bringing out the Sabbath? Because it's a key, it's important to Him. It's His day. And you notice He also said, and chose what pleases me also. So doing all of God's law, of course, and hold fast my covenants. Verse 5 and 6. Even to him, to them, I will give in my house and within my walls a place and a name better than that of sons and daughters. I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. Also the sons of the foreigner who join themselves to the Lord to serve Him, to love the name of the Lord, to be His servants, everyone who keeps from defiling the Sabbath. Why is He bringing up this? He could have talked about keeping His will, doing His way, obeying Him. Why is He emphasizing it? Because it's important to Him. And hold fast my covenants. Verse 7. Even them I will bring to my holy mountain, representing His kingdom, of course. Make them joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings and the sacrifice will be accepted on my altar. For my house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations. So, brethren, as you walk every day, as you go about your daily activities, the question I want you to answer always is this. Where does your blank day land you? On that day you choose to be, this is the Sabbath that God has given. Where are you? Where will you be? Where will I be? Every blank day that God has said we should write on the seventh day in our life, as we live this life, as we write the pages of our life, the history of our life. Where is your Sabbath? Will you pause and take each 7 days to consecrate a holy day to the Lord? It is not our day. Yet it is good to use it to rest and be rejuvenated, yes. But really, we need to not just think that we can each just choose. I think I will stay home today. I think I have some more other important things to do. God said we need to intentionally leave our schedule free that day. Intentionally. It's not because, nothing else is claiming my attention, okay? Not because some obligation is not there. No, we are living that day intentionally free, deliberately so, because God said, I hallow this day, I bless this day, and I want you to keep it that way and hold a sacred assembly in honor of me. That's what God says, not of himself. That's what it says. Let's make a commitment today. Okay? A commitment to live this 7th day of our lives intentionally free. Intentionally free. And simply not schedule activities or anything that takes us away from gathering together as God wants. I will leave us with this final scripture. So let us know that it is not up to us, it is up to God. All the troubles, trials, stresses, and everything that sometimes beset us. God says, even before we ask, he knows what we need. We need to eat, we need to clothe ourselves, we need to provide for, we need to do everything for ourselves. He knows all of this. Every parent will understand what I'm talking about. Even those who are parents to, as long as we're parents. You recognize that whoever it is that is yours, you are ready to give them everything. You will do anything for them. Okay? Not because they asked, but because they are yours. Because we own them. Even my own dogs that are there. Anyone trifle with them, I won't say they're just dogs, nothing else. You think I will hear something seem to be attacking my dogs at night, and I say, they are dogs, they'll take care of them. Me too, I will carry some cutlass, I will come out, come and see if I can do anything to help them. By virtue of the fact that they are mine. And God says, you are mine. Don't be afraid. I have called you by name, I have redeemed you. You are mine. He says so. Isaiah 43. He said, we'll walk through the waters, through the fires, through the rivers. They won't flow over us. We won't be born. They will not overwhelm us. He said they will carry and sustain us even to our old age. He gives us that strength. All that we need, all that we want. And so we can intentionally choose, deliberately do so, and leave that day blank for God. Isaiah 14 verse 29 to 31. He gives strength to the weary, increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and they will not be faint. God says if we trust in Him, and we can trust Him and labor and walk and intentionally, deliberately live 7 days free and schedule for Him. Shabbat Shalom. We will, after the closing prayer, just give a little bit of be patient or